Alrighty, friends, we're back. Your favorite podcast show of the week. It's Location Weekly. It's episode number 616, and we are recording on April the 17th. Brianna, how's it going?
It's good. Had a 3-day weekend and just like jumping back in and trying to catch up. We kicked off kids softball and baseball this weekend and it's a busy season of life and a busy time of year, but it's warming up and so it's nice to be outside again. How about you? How you doing?
Yeah, same. It was like summer all week last week. Beautiful sunshine, very, very warm weather. We had some visitors, a client folks in from Japan last week, so I spent a bunch of time with them. And then speaking of baseball, it was really nice to see the Blue Jays and the Rays unbeaten streak, so that was good.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we have a good show for you. 4 stories as per usual. A bunch of different brands doing interesting things. So I'll let Ariana kick us off with pizza because she always gets the pizza.
I love pizza and I love telling the pizza stories. So one of our I would say like featured brands that we talk about a lot on the show is a tech company who happens to make pizza, as they say, which is Domino's. And they are trying to make curbside pickup a little bit easier. So they are doing this with in-car purchasing. Domino's has about 20,000 locations across more than 90 countries. That is a lot. And they have now announced this integration with Apple CarPlay. So it's going to power up this in-vehicle ordering, right? You're on the go, you're busy, you got kids, you just want to be able to like quickly order a pizza and run by and pick it up on your way home. So they are now enabling the consumers to do that. So this is via their app within the car's console by tapping or calling, which is kind of nice. Because if you're driving, you don't want to be touching too many buttons, probably. They're really trying to do this for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, just like improve the consumer experience and sell more pizza, but also they're trying to direct customers away from the delivery channels. So delivery channels seem to be a little bit they cost more. They're not as cost effective as curbside pickup. And so they're like trying to say like, hey, how can we continue to sell more pizzas, but also be a little bit more efficient? And so I like that this is a business move as well. They are thinking about how do we do this with a voice ordering, but they're not quite there yet. And given obviously like Siri's capabilities and everything that's happening, I think they're gonna take this as a first step and then they'll get there. I'm sure we'll be announcing that soon. So just a couple of interesting stats that I found in this article is that the research shows that 86 million consumers are now using voice assistants each month. And the payment study showed that 57% of consumers are ordering from restaurants digitally each month. I definitely do, probably at least weekly, if not more. And this is like staying on trend. So last year we saw Uber Eats announced integration with Google Assistant. So they enabled some voice ordering with Uber Eats Marketplace. And then Panera Bread, which we covered on the show, also had some voice ordering integration, as well as the Apple CarPlay in-car ordering. So we're going to probably see a lot of QSRs start to like get into this. And I think that this is a great feature. There's a lot of times that you don't want to do delivery. You don't know when you're going to be home, or you're just going to drive by and pick it up. So I think this is a great option. And I'm really looking forward to when they have that voice piece of it that gets activated as well. What do you think?
I think it's great. I think it's easy. It's convenience for the customer. It saves people time, reduces friction. I need to figure out whether this is available in Canada. I do have both Apple CarPlay and Google Assistant in my car. So if it's up here, I'm certainly going to give it a try. I think it's interesting. The one other point that they mentioned in the article is that they see a big opportunity around fleets. So mobile workforces, who are driving around, pharmacy reps, sales reps, mechanics, delivery drivers themselves, they all have to eat. And one of the things that they think is a play here potentially is not just the ordering piece of it, but the expense report part of that. If, it's something that's included in your, your work benefits, if you will, of lunch and those kinds of things are covered. So I think that's interesting if you can kind of tie it back and make it seamless for the employee and for the employer. Um, Definitely you're going to drive, I think, way more online orders than you've ever had before, right? Because you've just made it super easy, and it's something that they know they can just order from this, and it's going to be covered by work, and expense reports already handled. So the hassle been removed. So I like that part of it. And I just like it overall. Like it's simple and it's easy execution. So get on Domino's, at it again. All right, moving over to our second story now. So a couple companies that, big parts of the LBMA from, pre-COVID and stuff, have teamed up, and we haven't talked about these guys for a while. So the first is Contact.io. They're a hardware manufacturer, big player in Bluetooth, IoT tracking devices. And then Signify, which is formerly, if you remember, Philips Lighting. So it's for the IoT, digital, arm of Philips. And last time we talked about them, they are the making sort of smart luminaires, smart lighting systems, and so on. So the team up here is focused on the healthcare sector, hospitals and such. And the idea is if you're doing a new construction of a hospital or retrofit of a hospital, and you're installing smart lighting systems from companies like Signify here, then it can be tied in automatically to the Contact.io IoT Bluetooth sensors. So the idea is that one of the problems we know in the healthcare field is that there's a lot of medical equipment, very expensive medical equipment and devices, and these things are getting kind of misplaced, or you're not exactly sure where they are, or even just tracking staff down. So having these tags, these BLE tags on staff, on patients, on devices, and being able to have real-time sort of tracking indoors of where people and where equipment are, I think is kind of interesting. And it's very accurate, room level accuracy, indoor navigation use cases, and a bunch of different things that you can do with this. So I like it. Again, it's not mind-blowing new technology. We've talked about Signify's technology in retail stores like Carrefour and things like that in the past. We've talked about Contact.io and using those sensors to track device level data in the past, but now bringing these two things together, integrated, and focusing on healthcare, I think is a good fit.
Yeah, I think this is a great partnership. I love that there is like the Philips play a bit with the fact that is, the smart lighting and everything that is used here. And I think that it's something that will certainly strengthen Contact.io's offering. And then the location analytics piece as well. So good partnership, not a ton to add. All right, let's go to the more high-end side of things.
It's time for you to go shopping, Brianna.
Yeah, I need that big bonus first, right? So gotta make that happen. And then it's time for me to go shopping. Yes, Cartier, yes, the luxury jeweler, has announced the launch of what they are calling the Looking Glass. Now, this is an in-store device that's using AR to show jewelry on a customer's hands, right? So this is in high resolution. And basically, imagine this setup. This is, again, in-store, not something at home that you're using with your own phone, but you go into the Cartier store, and this fits nicely on that desk there. It has like this, desk lamp looking contraption. It has an iPad, and then there's a desktop computer that helps it function, right? So how it works is that the customer puts on this black band, like if you've ever seen like those men's silicone wedding bands or something like that. So it's similar to that, and they put that on whatever chosen finger they were are thinking about buying a ring for, and then they put this under that lamp looking thing, and the software then superimposes the ring over the band and displays the results on the iPad, so they can kind of move their hands around and see how this ring would look and imagine it on their hand and their finger. So it's being tested globally right now, the Looking Glasses, in a handful of different Cartier stores. And it's really only allowing shoppers to try 13 different rings today. And then there's like a sales associate there that can provide further information about each item. So something that's interesting is like, when you think of, okay, there's only, 13 different items here, it seems very limited when you think about this through the lens of like e-commerce. I want to be able to try on all the sneakers or all the jewelry. But this is really made for that in-store environment where the goals are slightly different. In terms of who's involved in this, it's a French AI firm called Jolly Brain, and then there's a software company called Blue Trail that's out of California. So what's interesting about the technologies, they say they don't actually need the finished product or the finished ring to be able to create this model. And they simply rely on videos of like the rendering of the ring, and that's sufficient, which is very interesting. I think that when you're thinking about a store that is at this couture level, like Cartier, and you've got their lock bracelets or something that's very specific to them. People are going to come in. Maybe this is a unique experience. I would personally prefer to actually try on the real ring, especially if I'm going in store. For me to go in store to have like a digital experience on my hand is a little bit maybe not the best consumer experience in my mind. However, I think that there are, when you have like specialty sizing or specialty ordering or something that only has so many that are made and it's very exclusive, this maybe provides that exclusivity and that feeling like, hey, I want to hurry up and figure out like what I want to get one of these. So I can see that it has that application in this setting, but I think at scale, this is probably something that is reserved for that really like upper echelon item, such as, a Cartier piece of jewelry. So very interesting. I like the technology aspect of it. But we shall see how this scales out and if other high-end brands follow suit here. What do you think?
I think it's super interesting. And I think it's definitely, there's definitely some technology innovation happening here. When you look at AR and virtual try-on type of technology, obviously we've seen a ton of it in the makeup industry overall, Lancome and Sephora and all these brands playing around. And even on our the LB Mays Best Retail Cases.com platform, we have Perfect Corp, who's the technology behind a lot of the makeup try-on stuff. But as I was reading this story, what's really interesting about this, and where obviously there's some innovation happening, is jewelry in particular. They say in ARs, and this kind of virtual try-on is very difficult to do because you have issues with reflection and transparency of the stones and precious metals. And so, all that reflection and glitter, causes a lot of issues when you're trying to replicate that. And yet they've been able to do this without creating digital twins, based on the finished item, as you described. They're doing this using, videos and other technology. And, I think the rendering and processing speed that they're able to achieve here, I think is fascinating to me. And so it's kind of like they figured out how to generate this image in the way that the stone kind of reflects the light back in the proper way, and they're kind of actually tricking your brain from what I understand. And so yes, while it's limited and there's only 13 rings to try on at the moment, I kind of get it in the sense that there's a lot to kind of figure out on how you calculate these things. To me, it's kind of like, in some ways, in my car, it's a relatively new car, and yet I'm always fascinated with, the kind of 360, bird's eye camera view of, when I'm trying to park my car. Like, how do they take all those cameras around my car and like, put this composite image together that shows like an overhead view of my car? It's amazing to me, right? And so the trickery that they can come up with this, I think is super interesting. So good on Jolly Brain and Blue Trail Software here, and good on Cartier for kind of stepping on, kind of being a first to try this in luxury jewelry. So love it.
Yeah. I think they call that camera the jackass camera to make sure you're not parking terribly.
There you go. Well, then it works for me, I guess, for that. So yeah, I'm always like, it's funny, like when my kids were driving, or I have one that's still learning to drive right now. And I'm like, when you go to those driving tests, there's no cameras allowed. So like, just learn how to drive like I learned how to drive, where I'm looking backwards and, and all of that. So it's all good.
There you
All
go.
right, our final story now. So we're going to jump over to the hotel industry a little bit. So there's a company out there called Mailsail Hotels, Mailsail Hotels, and they've announced a partnership with Shipt. So if you might be familiar, Shipt, which is spelled SHIPT, is a same-day shopping and delivery service. And so this is Mailsail is a luxury hotel brand. And so they've got a bunch of properties that they're trialing this partnership with in Florida and Georgia in particular. And so the idea is that guests staying at these 9 hotels that they're testing with, you register for a Shipt account, and you get this sort of promotion where you receive 1 week of free Shipt membership within the select properties, and you get a credit for guests to stock up on groceries or household items while you're staying in the hotel. So it's kind of interesting. They say that guests, the focus here is that guests spend more time relaxing and less time worrying about, stocking up on groceries or, whatever items that they need. They don't have to make that trip per se out to the Walmart or the grocery store to grab the items that they need for their stay. And I think it's interesting. And the other part of it is that, once you leave and you go home, you can carry obviously the Shipt membership that you now have, kind of lives on with you. And so it's a great way, I think, for Shipt to potentially get some new customer acquisition. And it's a great way for the hotel properties to, provide a sort of convenience kind of service to the consumers here that are staying in their property. So I don't know. We'll see how it works. What are your thoughts?
I think this is great. If I was thinking, I'm Shipt, I would probably have like a brand ambassador that was out creating these partnerships, right? How do I provide that level of maybe concierge service at scale to a bunch of hotel locations or chains that are higher end, perhaps? And how do I drive more subscriptions? I mean, I'm a Shipt user. I use it for Target. And to be honest, I don't use it that often, but the fee that you pay for like $99 for the year really pays off, even if you just use it like once every month or so. Just because it's super convenient and like it's easy. And I think that when you're on vacation and you're in that mindset and you're trying to like enjoy the most time that you have wherever you are, just the ability to relax and be able to have somebody kind of take care of that is amazing, and just leave it outside of, your hotel room or, your villa or whatever you're renting for that week. So I think this is a great partnership, and I would expect that, more hotel properties or resorts would want to offer this to their guests. And obviously, it's certainly a win for Shipt to be able to maintain that membership, even if it's at a 5% level.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's a great customer acquisition strategy. So I like it a lot. All right, well, that's our show for this week. You've been listening and watching episode number 616 of Location Weekly. I want to remind you all that we have our signature conference coming up June 13th, 14th, Retail Loco, it's called, and it's happening in Minneapolis inside the Mall of America. So please, go to our website and figure out about getting your tickets for that. Or if you're interested, if you're any of the companies we talked about today, for example, and you'd like to kind of explore getting involved in speaking at the event, we'd be happy to talk to you about that as well. So again, June 13th, 14th, Retail Loco in the Mall of America. For everyone else, if you're listening, watching, we thank you for your time. Please reach out if you have story ideas or feedback. We'd love to hear from you either way. And we'll see you next week with another show. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Have a great week.